welcome you to this meeting, which in actuality is a continuation of the meeting that we had on the 7th. So you may think that this is April 14th, but it's actually a continuation of the meeting on April 7th. So at this time, I would encourage you to rise and recite the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, would all the board members look to your right and wave to mom? So. Anyway, could we get a sound check on the board members' microphones, please? Maria?
Sound check.
Are we okay with everybody's microphones? I think it's prudent for us to speak plainly and clearly into them throughout today's hearing. Okay, I'd like to turn your attention to the consent agenda. The consent agenda are contained, this agenda contains items that are usual and customary, and they can be voted on as a single item by the Board of Supervisors. However, any item on the 1, 2, 3 list could be pulled off by any member of the audience or a supervisor. So do I hear any request for removal of an item? Yes.
There was no announcement before you get to that point?
That's Supervisor Topanelli is asking me if there are any announcements regarding last week's meeting. I've got a pile of stuff here, assuming that it's all related to agenda items today. So unless somebody can rush up here with a list of announcements, I don't think there are any announcements. Okay, any requests for removal of an item? Yes. Okay. All right, it's not a written report, but I've been asked to announce the formal 5-0 vote on the director of the building department. We've had a wonderful man, Jeff White, serving as an interim director for a good many months now, close to 2 years, I guess. And we voted the board unanimously to affirm Jeff White as the director of our building department. So is Jeff here today? I guess he's working. Which he's always working. So I have a little bit of a problem with item number 3 on this consent calendar, so I'd like to pull that off and ask Mary Mutz for an explanation.
Good morning, Mary Mutz, Agricultural Commission. Mr. Thomas, your questions, okay, please?
Yes, Mary, what struck me as potentially problematic on this thing is it alludes to the fact that we can save $2,000 on this $82,000 contract has the potential for costing us $2,500 more than the lowest bid because of some scheduling, some delivery options. We had the bid proposal was requested for some company that could deliver within 3 days, or what was it? I'm struggling with that, but 3 days or 5 days, but the lowest responsible bid you said could deliver in 5 days instead of 7 days? What?
Well, the terms of the contract are to be able to deliver the chemical within 5 days. The Target Specialty Products claims that they could deliver the chemicals within 7 to 10 days. Wilbur Ellis stated they could deliver it within 3 days. We have had tremendous success working with Wilbur Ellis also in the past. They have had an exceptional quality of service. They're readily available when we need advice from the pest control advisor. and we are, we're low on product and need to go forward.
Okay. All right, the other part of my question has to do with, these all seem to be name brand products, Roundup, Milestone, Transline. I think that there are generic products that have the same active ingredients, and I'm just curious about why these suppliers didn't offer a generic product.
There certainly are generic products for some of those chemicals. And the first term of our contract says that brands referenced in the product list are brand specific, and substitutes or equals to these brands will be considered at the discretion of the county. And none of the two respondents provided any generics.
Okay. I don't know whether any of the other supervisors have any questions on this particular item. But, I thought that it might be worthwhile just revisiting this for a week or so, just to see if we can't save some money on the other products.
I'm ready to make a motion. By the time we spend staff time and copy time and cut a tree and make paper, we're going to spend part of the money. So for that amount, I would take the recommendation of staff on this.
Second.
Was that a second?
Yes. Second. Discussion?
Yes, we have a motion and a second, but on the question.
I'll support this this time around, but I would appreciate in the next year or so, before this comes back to us, that we take a look at our whole approach to weed and pest abatement. Any alternative methods that could reduce poisons used would be something I would support, as long as they're economically feasible. And as I understand, there's some new products on the market that we may be dealing with old technology, and I'd at least like to review that for a less toxic approach to this.
I appreciate that, but I would like to say something in favor of the Department and Public Works. A few years ago, we were using some rather harsh sterilants on the side of the road, and I'm just making one application with these sterilants and some Roundup, and we are using more integrated pest management techniques by using just Roundup and a very mild soil sterilant, and then going back again with another application of Roundup. So with regards to integrated pest management, we are using some of the technology, but I can work with Public Works to see if there are some other softer, kinder, gentler chemicals, and the cost may be increased.
Okay, well, we're not interested in having costs go up a whole lot, but and that was specifically why I brought it up. But anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say, oh, well, let me this is on the single item. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Okay, do we have a motion on the remaining two items?
I move.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the other two items on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, that brings us to the regular agenda. We have public comments, and this is the time when anybody wishing to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please come forward. Bear in mind that I will be limiting time on this particular aspect of the agenda for 5 minutes and 5 minutes only. Thank you. Please state your name.
My name is Evelyn McCleskey. I live in Diamond 20 in Copperopolis. 5 years ago, when we moved on our property, I put in a 10-stall, very nice horse barn. I called the county and said I'd like a permit to board a couple of horses, and they told me it was residential and I couldn't do that. So today my barn stands empty. However, across the street from us, the people have turned their entire 20 acres into an off-road dirt bike track. It's been in there for 2.5 years. There was no environmental impact report made. There was no notification of the neighborhood of the impact it would have on us. There were no permits asked for or issued. There was no proof of any kind of insurance. We were told that because it was recreational and it was on their property, that was fine. Last summer, Supervisor Thomas stood on my front porch and watched the dirt billow up in great clouds. This past week, one day, we needed a dust mask inside the house just to breathe. It was that bad. You couldn't even see the roads. They bring in children and adults from all over. They ride after school. They ride on weekends. They ride on holidays. They ride all through the summer. Easter morning at 6:45 a.m. they started. They laid it down at 6:30 p.m. During that time, the noise was like a freight train going through your house. The only problem was there was no end to the freight train. It lasted for 12 hours. They said that they did this to keep their kids off drugs. Well, let me tell you, after 12 hours, my family was looking for drugs. I have a solution to this problem. Since there's no regulations, we have decided that we'll put a golf course on our 22 acres. We've got 2 ponds, trees, grass, everything that we need. And we will invite everybody from the county to come out and play. It sounds funny, but it really isn't if you're living with it day after day. And I'm sure if these old boys here in Calaveras County find out that they can do anything with their property as long as it's recreational, I can see the pot growers turning their places into rifle ranges or outdoor theaters. And you know what? My family's NASCAR people. We just might consider putting a racetrack on ours. I don't see why anybody could do anything about it. The county's done nothing about the dirt bike tracks. And it's not just ours. I've talked to people in planning. They say they get complaints all over the county. Last year I stood before the board along with dozens of people from down at the lake begging for a noise ordinance. Nothing was done.
Ms. McCloskey, you have about a minute left, but if I'm stopping your time just to respond to that specific thing. But we have, it's my understanding that at the last meeting of April, we have a review of the noise and nuisance noise ordinance that's coming back to us. I apologize for it's taking so long, but I wanted to ask you, I had suggested to you a number of times, and it's true that I went out and saw the unbelievable dust clouds, but I gave you a contact with our environmental control.
We contacted them. They came out and talked to the lady there, and she said she knew exactly what she was doing, and she didn't care. And they said, as long as we're not here to see it, or you don't have movies of it, there's nothing we can do about it.
Okay, well, I would encourage you to call Lockmere the next time that it's the dust is going off their property. That's the rule, that if it's going off their property, and it certainly was the day that I was out there. I will acknowledge that. The noise and the dust was going significantly off their property. Okay.
It certainly was. We need a code change also.
Mm-hmm.
Other counties in California have them to regulate something like this. So that, you know, when I bought the property and I put everything we had in retirement to build it up, it was supposed to be a nice, peaceful place. Now, my property value has hit rock bottom. Nobody is going to buy my place when they come out and they see and hear what's going on across the road. I would really appreciate it if you would consider a code change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCloskey. Anyone else wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda this morning?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Al Segala, Board of Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here on a new item. This is Assembly Bill 268. Assembly Bill 268 is a form of tax protest, but even more than that, it's a regulatory protest. In the past, the Board of Supervisors made extensive comments on the Law 885, which is state revision of the septic regulations, which is just a horrible regulatory abuse, and which, if they were enforced, would bring about tremendous economic damage to our community. Well, now we have before us an Assembly Bill 268 by game, which is the most simple legislation that we've probably ever seen. It simply repeals 885. Wow, what a solution. I understand it's in committee now, the state capitol, and that the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association is hoping to get people to go there and comment on it. I don't know if it will emerge from the committee or not, but if it does, I would encourage you to support that bill to repeal 885. The Calaveras County Taxpayer Association would really appreciate it, and I'm sure the property owners in the county would as well. Tomorrow, we're having a tea party, and you're so welcome to come. And our hope is at the tea party in downtown Angels Camp will result in more people becoming part of our association and also part of a movement that would hopefully bring sanity to fiscal sanity to at the level of federal government and state government. We don't know if that'd be possible or even if the taxpayers could be that organized, but we're going to make a try. And so you're so welcome to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segala.
Good afternoon or good morning, supervisors. My name is Les Martin from Valley Springs, and to go on a little bit more with what Al Segala just said, there are actually two bills, AB 268 and AB 916. 268 is basically the short one to say to repeal the stupid 885, pardon the way I'm being, but and 916 by Long or Logue, I think out of Fair Oak, somewhere around there, is basically to put the control of the septics and the wells back in the hands of the county health departments. And they are both being heard today in Sacramento. So any support that the county can give to bring this back into either our control or to repeal 885 in its totality would sure be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Anyone else wishing to address the board this morning? Okay, if not, turn your attention to agenda item number 5. This is an item to discuss the applicability of the board policy resolution 07242 regarding criteria for discretionary development projects to project 2008-060. This is a tentative parcel map for Barksdale at 5446 Pole Station Road. We have comments from staff on this.
Yes, Chairman Thomas, supervisors. The request before the board is for an exemption from the board policy regarding the division of land into less than 40-acre parcels in areas without public water or sewer, as expressed in Resolution 7242, which was adopted by the board in November of 2007. The applicant is proposing the division of approximately 100 acres on Pool Station Road into 4 10-acre parcels and a 60-acre remainder. The resulting parcels would be served by on-site wells and septic systems. The property is currently zoned residential agriculture, 10-acre minimum parcel size, with a general plan designation of future single-family residential, 5-acre minimum density for the western part of the property and natural resource lands, mineral resource areas for the eastern part. This project is consistent with the existing general plan and zoning designations. However, the segment of Pool Station Road that would serve the project is rated at a level of service D, Because of the level of service on that section of Pool Station Road, the minimum parcel size is 40 acres until the road is improved to an LOS of C. The application and tentative parcel map for this project was received in July of 2008, approximately 8 months after the board adopted its policy that requested all discretionary land use applications be consistent with one or more of the 4 criteria. Specific to this project is the criteria that all divisions of land be served by public water and sewer unless the parcels are in excess of 40 acres or only one additional parcel would be created. This project is not consistent with that policy. The applicant asserts that he should be exempt from that policy direction because he has performed substantial work at considerable expense based on direction from planning and public works staff that he would be able to, and assurances that he would be able to divide his property, and that he began that process of consulting with staff before the board's policy took effect. However, staff has indicated that although Mr. Barksdale did request information from staff prior to the adoption of the policy, there was no pre-application consultation, and he was not instructed to do any project-related road work, conduct any studies, or proceed with any site development prior to submitting his application. Staff also asserts Mr. Barksdale was informed that Pool Station Road in the vicinity of his property was LOSD, which would only allow parcels of 40 acres or more unless the applicant was willing to improve the road. Expenses incurred by the applicant prior to submitting this application were primarily related to installation of a well, routing of power to the property, and grading of a road, which was characterized in the grading permit as an improvement of an existing driveway and to provide access for one additional residence. It was not part of any pre-application preliminary work at staff's recommendation or direction, and if it was done in preparation for the proposed land division, would have been contrary to the normal project review and permitting process. Public Works has repeatedly expressed its opposition to this project as indicated in the letters and memos in your packet. It is their determination, and planning staff concurs, that the project as proposed is not only inconsistent with the board's policy, but would also be inconsistent with the general plan unless the applicant is willing to improve the impacted portion of Pool Station Road to an LOSC. Because the application for project 2008-60 was submitted after the board's policy was adopted, the applicant was not actively working with the county prior to initiation of that policy, and the applicant did not perform substantial work or incur substantial expense in good faith reliance on staff's direction prior to submitting this application. Staff considers this application to be inconsistent with board's direction and recommends that the board deny the applicant's request for an exemption from the provisions of that policy.
Okay, do the supervisors have any questions of staff?
Not at this time.
Okay, is the applicant here or the applicant's representative?
I'd like to speak. My name is Jessica Arola. I think I've met all of you a long time ago. The problem that I have is that Sam and I came to Public Works and the building department, and we knew the road was a level service deed. He originally wanted to split it into 10-acre parcels, but because of what Robert Packinger said and numerous people from the building department, they said go for 4 and a remainder. So Sam went ahead with the project. They said, oh, no, there'll be no problem, even though, because staff, it'll be fine. 4 and a remainder without upgrading the road. Sam went ahead with his plans, and now you guys are saying that he can't do what he intended to do. And I think it's ridiculous that Public Works is pretending that they don't even remember the project or anything. We had a map. We had another person that worked in Public Works that was a witness to it. And to be honest with you, I'd like to bring her in so that she can tell you that this did happen. And it's shocking to me that everybody's denying in Public Works that they knew that Sam was going to go for 4 and a remainder. He's not trying to do something that he wasn't told he could do.
So I'm just telling you. I mean, I have another witness. Would you like me to bring them in too? Because, I mean, it's ridiculous. He would have gone for the whole split. He chose to do forward and remainder at the recommendation of Robert Pappinger. And I was there with him.
Okay, Jessica, is that person that you've mentioned, is
No, they're not here right now, but I'm preparing to get a statement from them. Sam is here. Sam would probably like to speak on that too. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Jessica.
I feel like we're beating a dead horse here. Everybody knows what's going on and how we got to this point, and I keep bringing it up, and I really don't like to. I'd like to move forward if we could. But the fact of the matter is, she's right. We were told we could have forward and a remainder with a level of service D. More than one time, Mr. Packinger told me that. Now he doesn't recall, and we're having to fight to get past this portion of it. But we have a proposal to get past that. Mr. Barksdale is going to speak on that right now. That would, hopefully we can move us forward in this project. That's what we're going to try to do now. To go forward with this thing. I don't want to be a dead horse anymore. It's just not getting us anywhere. So, having said that, Dennis Barksdale is going to speak.
Okay,
Do you all have the letter that he sent? He emailed everybody?
Yes. Before he comes up, does any board member have any question of Mr. Mosby? Okay.
We did go to great lengths to do our due diligence. We spoke with numerous people in Public Works and the Building Department to get our information correctly. And we've spoken to all of you. You all know what's going on here. I don't know where to go from here except move forward. What can we do to move forward? Mr. Barksdale has a plan to move forward. If anybody has any questions, I'm glad to answer them. We didn't try to hide anything from anybody. The road we put in was for access to our property. The road that was existing was not wide enough. It was only 12 foot wide. It's very dangerous. You have to back all the way down. So that's why we widened the road. And we did it through Public Works with permits and engineering and the whole enchilada. Dennis.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Dennis Barksdale with Claymore Engineering. I'm the engineer. We did a record of survey on the property.
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, my name is Dennis Barksdale. I'm with Claymore Engineering. We did the engineering for the road. We are also a part owner in the property, which we acquired after we became aware of the project. I think that we can't continue to argue about what was said and what wasn't said. But what I think we can do is we can point out the fact that the property and the price that it was purchased for is directly related to the ability to split it. So without being able to split the property, we wouldn't have purchased the property. I mean, that's just common sense. So that's just a fact. The other fact is that we've spent roughly close to $1 million on the property. So we bought the property, we developed a roadway on the property that was already there in an attempt to build a house in the back portion of the property. We did not try to circumvent any county codes, none. But we did, at the time, we were financially able to build the house. So we wanted to move forward. Building the house, we felt that it would increase the value of the property by building a nice home in the back along a roadway that was already there. So that's why we did what we did. We were trying to increase the value of the property. We were not trying to circumvent any codes. We were not trying to bug anybody. We were not trying to cause any problems. I think that one of the things that we have to deal with is the zoning, and the general plan says that the property can be zoned 5 acres and 10 acres. It does say that. Now, there is something that has been done, a resolution that along the way that's been passed, that says that we have to have sewer and water to the site, which is unfeasible for this property. So the general plan is in conflict with your desires. So from my standpoint, looking on the outside, I was not at the meetings when Sam and Jessica and people from my office met with county staff. All I have is what they told me that was said. Nothing led me to believe otherwise. Everything from a professional standpoint, looking at the site, looking at the transportation corridor that is Pool Station Road, looking at the rim fee that was set aside to develop Pool Station Road, everything led me to believe that backing up and not trying to do 5-acre parcels, just going ahead and negotiating four 10-acre parcels and owner's remainder, which I think that even county staff will say will not have any impact on that road. None. It'll have zero impact as far as transportation or anything else. I also think that we should point out that the use of wells and septic systems is something that has to be brought through the county and approved. This is all things that happen, and there's many properties in the county that have wells that have septic systems, and they work fine. Now, there are some areas where they don't. We're not asking for a building permit until we have a usable well. We're not asking for a building permit until we have a usable septic system. It's our desire to use a new method that actually reclaims water that we can use for irrigation. It processes wastewater, turns it into Title 22 usable water that we can irrigate on our site. That's what our desire is. And we're looking to process 5 parcels, not more, that we have 3 partners in this project. Our whole desire was have 3 homes for us, have 2 parcels to help us pay for the infrastructure that was needed. We've developed a plan which you see, it provides for mitigation for the fact that the level of service of Pool Station Road is D. We will do the work necessary to provide the plans and the right-of-way documents to bring that road up to a level of service C from the area where it is deficient to our southern boundary. That work, in my estimation, will cost well in excess of $150,000. We're willing to pay that. We're also willing to pay our rim fees. That rim fee for 5 parcels is $16,500. That means that we'll pay a total of about $165,000. That is 10 times what the rim fee is, 10 times. So we're looking to mitigate for something that we're put in a position of owning when we thought that we could develop it. But we're willing to do this. We're willing to do this out of our own nickel. We're not asking for the county to pay any of that. We are asking that we be allowed to process building permits for 3 homes. And we will wait, and we will work with the county to delay the development of the other 2 parcels for some reasonable length of time. All we're looking at is we're looking at some method to not lose our shirt on this property. And we still believe in it. We still go there. I purchased my portion of the property after I surveyed it. So after I was out there surveying the property, I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was nice. I thought it was a good place to live. I still think it's a good place to live. So that's where we are. I can answer any questions you have on the letter I sent.
Okay. Any board members wishing to ask a question? I like it better when I can see people. But, okay, I have one question, Mr. Barksdale. I went into the Public Works Department and kind of reviewed the file, and the date on the application for the driveway encroachment permit is September 11th. Yes, September the 11th of 2007. There's a note on the back here that I think it must be something that was pinned by one of you or a representative of your company that says that this serves a maximum of 2 parcels on that roadway. That sort of brings up in my mind, there at least raises a question of why does it say that it serves a maximum of 2 parcels when you were intending all along, or at least at this point in time, that you had intended to do 4.
The purpose of that was because at the time it was serving 2 parcels. It serves Mr. Rader, who's a neighbor, who travels through our property on an easement to get to his property, and it would serve the residents. We did this in an attempt to get the building constructed our whole intent was to move forward on building the structure. We knew that it would take some years to get through the process of doing the tentative map and the final map on the parcel. So it was an attempt to move forward to develop the property, At the same time, we were telling the truth. It was 2 parcels. It wasn't, the application wasn't in. We all know that if we move forward with the tentative map, we can't develop anything until after the tentative map is approved.
Okay.
So the parcel right now can be split into 2 40s, or two parcels that are larger than 40. So we can't build 2 homes if we do a 40-acre lot and a 67-acre lot. So truthfully, we could build 2 homes on the parcel now. We weren't trying to get any more than, our intent was always to go 5, I will say that. My intent was also to move faster so I could develop a house because I wanted to move there. So there were 2 things going on there, and I acknowledge the fact that it would take time to go through the county process. We were perfectly willing to go through that time. It's just that we want to develop the property as we're going through it.
Okay, so what you feel like that you have designed is a project that has a 20-acre density, and you're clustering 4 of the houses.
Correct. Correct. It would turn out to be 107 acres. It would be essentially a 20-acre density with a, essentially, yes.
Okay, well, that describing the project like that kind of makes it go down easier. It's a 20-acre density project rather than 4 10s. But anyway, that's for the rest of the board to decide. Yes, Mr. Supervisor Walensky?
Yeah, I do have one question on a matter that you haven't remarked upon this morning yet. There are properties around this that are ag properties. There's several preserves and a number of RA properties as well that pretty much go 3 full sides of it. Do you have any comments on the potential impact to the ag operations that are extant in the area?
Our property, when we develop the 5 parcels, we'll develop about less than 10% of the whole property. In other words, 90% is going to remain in a natural state. The back 40 acres won't be touched at all, as according to our plan as it currently exists. So we're looking at a situation where over 90% of the entire property is going to remain the way it looks now. That's our whole intent. We love the way it looks. We love the way it feels out there. It's not our intent to bulldoze everything and to move things around and to change the way the trees are. Our intent is to plant more trees. Our intent is to make it a better place to live. So I don't believe that it's going to affect the agricultural folks around us. It's not our intentions to do that. It brings up a good point too in the zoning of the property, and I don't want to belabor everything, but the way the zoning is, the folks around us could have certainly purchased the property. The problem is that the zoning allows for it to be split, and now the general plan. So the truth is that the value of the property is kind of superficial if we can't split it. So we go in and we purchase a property for a price that the neighbors aren't willing to pay because they know that it's an agricultural property, it's not worth it. So here we are, we're kind of stuck, we're kind of clouded up because we go purchase a property with the concept of developing it. They can't purchase a property because it's worth too much. So they're kind of jammed up, we're jammed up. And I think that's an unfortunate situation. I think that, you guys are the supervisors, you guys do a lot of hard work on the general plan and on how the county moves. From a person's perspective coming in, trying to buy a piece of property and trying to do a split and maybe, live here, it's hard because we look at the general plan and we did not see that code or that resolution. And I'm not even sure it was there when we got it, when we purchased the property. So, we're looking at the overlay. It looks good. Everything feels good. The transportation corridor Pearl Station Road is shown as a rim road. So from, looking at it, we think, wow, this is cool. This is everything we always wanted. And there we are.
Okay, any other questions of the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Barksdale. Any other member of the public wishing to comment on this item? Come forward and identify yourself, please.
Nancy Gallo with the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. We have sympathy for the regulatory underdog, and we haven't studied this particular issue, but what we've heard so far, 2 things seem to come to mind. One, that people were sincere and were following the law as they knew it, and we're dealing with county representatives. I believe them when they said that they talked to the planning department and they had green light which later was changed. I don't think you were not telling the truth. And the second issue is a policy change that the board did that may need to be rethought. The idea of not allowing parcels to be split less than 40 acres without public water and sewer can have some unintended consequences. Perhaps now is the first of these. The best zoning would be such that allows the people to use their property as they see fit. It does no harm to the neighbors or to the public. Concepts of government officials or others wanting to redesign the use of other people's property tends to result in oppression and discourages economic development, rural development, and actually hurts people. So I would recommend at the appropriate time that the Board of Supervisors revisit this rule that splits less than 40 acres must have public water and sewer, because public water and sewer is simply not available, and which means that the property cannot be split. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segala. Mr. Buckley, how are you?
Good morning, John Buckley, Central Sierra Environmental Resource Center. I would point out that for many years, our center and others have come before this board with concerns over projects that had both water and sewer, and that many members of the public have also expressed concerns. And in response to that, all this board did with a policy in 2007 is simply pass a resolution limiting divisions of land to 40 acres or more with other exceptions during the time period pending completion of the general plan update work program and the certification of the EIR. If you look on page 3 of your staff report, according to Public Works staff, Mr. Barksdale was advised that the level of service for Pool Station Road in the vicinity of the project was D. He was not instructed to do any project-related road work, and goes on to give the perspective from Public Works staff that there was an attempt to circumvent the normal permitting process. At the bottom of that page, it reads, regarding the applicant's statement concerning the amount of time and expenses spent on this project, there is nothing to support the assertion that substantial time and considerable expense was incurred at the direction of county staff. Obviously, everyone who invests money would like to move quickly to get a return on that money. But in this case, you have a policy that should be applied consistently and fairly, rather than change simply because someone comes forward and has a situation where they would like to creatively change what the policy applies to. And again, I would emphasize that this simply holds off on the applicant being able to do what he's proposing to do until the adoption of the general plan update and certification of the EIR. And finally, Mr. Barksdale just complained that he can't split it. He said that twice, but he can split it if he simply follows what the county requires, which is to bring the level of service on the road up to the level of C for the entire road as is required to make that able to be split. There are those options, including waiting for the general plan to be implemented, which would then no longer make this policy resolution applicable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Good morning. I'm Leroy Rader, and I've got a letter here, and I've got one for each board member and for the county clerk. Yeah, one for the board and there's some for the clerk. property owner. We join him on the back side, on the west and the north. We wrote this letter, and I'll read it to you, and then if there's any questions, we'll go from there. Dear board members, we're strongly urging you to deny Mr. Mosby's request that Crazy Horse Estates Incorporated be granted an exception to Board Resolution number 07242. We firmly believe and agree with both Calaveras County Planning Department and Public Works that Mr. Mosby was not working with county staff, but was actually attempting to circumvent proper procedures for a subdivision development. When the property was listed for sale, we called planning to find out what the zoning was, as we were very concerned about what might be built next door to us. We were told that it was zoned RA10, but Pool Station Road was a level of service D, and the minimum lot size that could be created was 40 acres. We're the adjoining neighbors for about 1.25 miles on the north and west side. So Mr. Mosby and his associates, real estate developers from Elk Grove, they purchased this property with the intent to subdivide, fully aware that Pool Station Road is a level of service D. At their time of the purchase, April 2007, the general plan stated the minimum density was 40 acres on roads of level of service D. The general plan's online for anyone in the public to view. In Mr. Mosby's letter to the board, he admits that he proceeded forward with his project based on the undocumented verbal representative of Mr. Packinger. He don't have any record of that, no signed thing or anything, no documentation, that there was some loophole to allow circumventing level service D restriction. Public Works says they don't know anything about that conversation. So then the developer makes a request for a grading permit for a road to service a single-family residence in the fall of 2007. Well, this road encompassed the road that I built in 1970. And then we got a recorded easement for me and my wife to get to our residence and our ranch. So we're pretty concerned about this, any action being taken on the road, our only source of access to our house and our ranch. So we met with Mel Aldrin of Public Works to review the grading plans and express our concern. Well, one of our main concerns was they're planning to split the property and they were not performing all the proper procedures for a subdivision. Mel stated he was unaware of any such intention and showed us a proposed grading map, which indicated one home site. Well, the grading permit was issued in May of 2008. The plan was reviewed for the service of our house, existing residents, and their one proposed home site. So immediately they began moving dirt. They took all the road base out of the road that I put there. 30 years we've been working on it. Culverts, tore all the culverts out, tore out my paved encroachment, which we put in 1971. In July, they just quit. All the work comes to a halt. What the hell's going on here? Nothing. So in September, we go and talk to the county, see what's going on. They got to finish this road before winter comes. Now we're going to get in there if it gets muddy. Well, they didn't do nothing. So then in November 2020, 2008, we get a little help. State Water Resources comes along and they says, hey, you better start doing something. You're in violation here. They threatened them with a fine of $10,000 a day for erosion control. And after that, they come out and they did a little bit and got it passed so that it survived through the winter. Well, they haven't done anything. I guess not good for us, but thank God it was a dry winter. So now they've got a month left to finish it, according to me, on their permit, including the pavement. And they put in for a house, and they haven't started any construction on one house, nothing. So as you're aware, before a subdivision can be approved, numerous environmental studies must be completed. The level of scrutiny is based upon the number of parcels being created. More than 2 parcels is a tentative parcel map, and more than 4 is a subdivision map. Permits and work can be done on an existing parcel for a single-family resident with a bare minimum of review. Mr. Mosby has obtained permits and done a substantial amount of work under the disguise of a single family. They're going to put one house in there, right? One example's been, they never conducted an oak tree study. A lot of oaks have been cut down, pushed, live oaks, white oak, black oak. They've been destroyed, bulldozed out, burnt up. They applied for their tentative parcel map less than 2 months after the issue of the grading permit. After all that work had been done, they tore everything up. In their application for the tentative parcel map, they even state that they eventually plan to develop the remaining parcel to their true intent for a full subdivision. That's total disregard for the permitting process. So we're strongly urging you to deny this. It don't meet the criteria being served by public water and sewer. Does not meet the criteria being served by level service C road, and will eventually be rejected. So it's a complete waste of time from the county staff and resources to pursue this any further. I mean, this is far enough. Stop it now. I thank you. If you got any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Rader?
I mean, I buy cows sometimes and I pay too much money for it, so I take it. You don't win all the time. They pay too much, and that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
I would
Rader.
like to ask one question.
Oh, yes, Supervisor Walensky.
I'll ask the same question I asked the previous speaker, which is what effect do you think this particular proposal will have on ag operations or surrounding ag properties?
Anytime you have a subdivision to ag, that's the end of agriculture. I don't care if it's 2 houses, 4 houses, whatever. Anytime you put something next to ag, you have nothing but problems. You've got kids, you've got dogs, like the lady said, you've got motorcycles, you've got people running all over you. We've already got a problem. They put a big road in. The other night I went home, and here comes 2 fellas out. The wife went home. We keep our gate locked because we've got this major road now. She went home ahead of me. She left the gate open. I come back 15 minutes later. Here comes a car out of our place. 2 guys in. Tattoos all over him. I said, what's going on here? Well, we're on this road. There's a shortcut to Hunt Road. This road goes to Hunt. I said, no, it don't go to Hunt Road. Well, I was going home. I had a load of horses in the trailer. I had a gooseneck on. Halfway up, I meet these guys. Well, I'd already locked the gate. So now I got to back down, let these 2 yokels out that don't have any business there. Now, I'll tell you what it does. It's no good. That's what it is. It's nothing but problems. You reach agriculture, you want it, and then you let something like this go in? No, it don't work. Any more questions? I want to roll.
Ask if you dare, folks.
I'm Libby Rader-Catholic, and I have a letter here signed by us and many of our neighbors, and I'd like to present it to you.
Libby, before you start, I want to just kind of bring this back to a sense of time reality here. I let Mr. Rader keep going and going because I hadn't announced that they were really short on time today, so I'm kind of, from here on in, I'm going to start.
This one's a little bit shorter than his.
Okay.
Okay, I have a copy for everyone,
Yeah.
too.
All right. In the next hearing, I'm going to be limiting people to 3 minutes, so we're going to give you a little bit of latitude since I didn't announce it ahead of time.
Dear board members, we would like to commend you on your passage of Resolution 07242 in the interim of the general plan update. We are very pleased to see that the board recognizes the scarcity of water in this county and the irresponsibility to continue to rely on groundwater as a dependable source, especially for high-density developments. The proposed tentative parcel map 2008-060 by Crazy Horse Estates, Inc. is a prime example of why this resolution is needed. The site of this proposed high-density 10-acre development lies 4 miles southwest of San Andres on Pool Station Road. It is at least 3 miles from any source of public water, CPUD, and even farther from public sewer. The entrance to the project is serviced by nearly 3 miles of level service D road. The 106-acre property lies right in the middle of a very large block, thousands of acres of contiguous ag preserve land. The possibility for future development of public water and sewer in this area is nearly non-existent. This is ag land used for livestock grazing. In order for livestock to be able to utilize the grazing, they must have sources of water. This is provided by natural springs. These springs are also utilized by the wildlife in this area. The drilling of wells, up to 10 in this area, poses a great threat to the viability of the spring and the livestock industry and the wildlife that they support. Reports written by both Planning Department and Public Works clearly state that the applicants were not working with county staff, but were in fact trying to circumvent proper protocol. Their tentative parcel map was filed 7 months after the board passed the resolution 7242, which is a strong indication that they were not working with county staff. All the improvements were done after the passage of the resolution under the permits issued for a single-family residence, clearly intent to circumvent proper procedures. When the investors for Crazy Horse Estates, Inc. purchased the property, the general plan clearly stated that Pool Station Road was a level of service D, and 40 acres is the minimal lot size that can be created on property serviced by level service D road. Anyone who drives down Pool Station Road can see its inadequacies and substantial amount of work necessary to improve it to a level of service C. The county did not have, nor does it have, any immediate plans for the improvement of Pool Station Road. Any investment made based on improvement of Pool Station Road would be considered a risky long-term investment. It is not the duty of this board to bail out poor business decisions of out-of-county developers. Please protect the rights of the citizens of this county. We urge you to have the strength and integrity to uphold the resolution and deny any exceptions, especially those based on hearsay and deception. This was signed by Leroy and Sandy Rader, Jim and Karen Hagan of Angels Camp, John and Bonnie Tiscornia of San Andres, Jim Waters of San Andres, Bud Psyche of San Andres, Dennis and Susan Baskin of San Andres, and myself and husband, Dave Cassick of San Andres. One other comment that I would like to make about, they say they want to improve Pool Station Road. In order to improve Pool Station Road, they have to acquire access. Because Pool Station is, anyway, let's see, it's in the public, excuse me, in the Public Works memo, November 17, 2008, states, in order to upgrade the level of service, various improvements are necessary, including widening the travel lanes, shoulders, improving the horizontal curvature of Pool Station Road, may necessitate acquisition of right-of-way to accommodate improvement. To avoid obligating the county to undertake a procedure for possession pursuant to Subdivision Map Act 666-462, the applicant would have to demonstrate the ability to acquire right-of-way prior to project approval. We are the owners of the land that Pool Station Road runs through, and I can tell you right now, we're not granting any more right-of-way. They're going to have to do it in eminent domain. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to address the board?
Dave Cassick. I live at 4865 Pool Station Road. And I wasn't going to get up and speak, but I sat here and listened to the gentleman that wants to put the subdivision in, Barksdale, Mr. Barksdale, and he talks about character and being a good neighbor. Well, about 3 or 4 months ago, I came out and did a survey on the road, Pool Station Road. I would think a good neighbor would come and ask somebody if you could trespass. All out Pool Station Road, there's probably 1,000 metal tags on these trees. They never asked anybody if they could come on their property. Metal tags with nails. I have a problem with that. That shows bad character to me. They stand up there and they tell you they got good character and good faith. That just proves to you folks right there. There's no good character or good faith there. When they come in and nail metal tags well inside the fence lines. Well inside the fence line. It's not just right on the fence line. It's inside. You had to climb through the fences Now, a lot of you are aware of what it takes to keep the fences up. When you have these yo-yos cross over my fence line, I have a problem with it. That shows bad character. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassie.
I'd like to speak on character. I'm personally embarrassed by the way the Raiders have treated me and the Mosbys and everybody else. There's been threats, and I mean, they want to talk about character. It's awful. I've been yelled at. It's absolutely horrible. And Leroy, I believe, lives on a 20-acre parcel. So, I mean, what, the rules change for him? I don't, to me, the issue is that Public Works said that he could do 4 and a remainder. I was there was another witness, and there was Sam. And that is why he went ahead with the project. He wasn't trying to screw the county or do anything to hurt the neighbors. If anything, he's been nice to Leroy and the whole family, and they've treated him like garbage. And I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to live here.
Thank you, Jessica.
I hope this is the last time. If I could go back, I would have never purchased this property. If Mr. Packager would have told me, Sam, you can't split it, we wouldn't be here. If Mr. Rader would have told me he wanted to buy the property, when I asked him the first day I met him, I told him, do you want it? I won't make an offer. Well, no, it costs too much money. It costs too much money because of the zoning. And that's exactly why we bought it. It's in the middle of ag. It's perfect. This is what we wanted. Nothing else is going to be developed out there. We're going to put 4 homes, maybe 5 homes in 107 acres. Nothing's going to change. We're not going to do anything other than build beautiful homes out there. And as far as character, Mr. Rader, Mr. Scornia have threatened me, my family, my employees, almost daily. I hear this, but I haven't said anything until now because I'm tired of it. And frankly, if they wanted to buy the property, they should have bought it. We bought it. We did everything we were supposed to do by the direction of Public Works. They gave us information, we went with it. I have witnesses. I know, Mr. Tryon, you're sick of looking at me. You're sick of hearing this. Well, I'm sick of saying it. We'd just like to move forward with this project. Do you have any questions for me? We didn't do anything illegal. We didn't do anything of trying to circumvent anybody or anything. I've turned my cheek every time Mr. Rader has called me up and chewed me out for whatever he feels like, and I just let it go. I let it go. It's okay. Anybody have any questions for me? Because I'll tell you the truth, and I've told the truth from day one. As far as that road, somebody ought to drive out there and take a look at it now. You can get up and down that road. You couldn't before.
Okay, Mr. Mosby, thank you. Supervisor Walensky.
Before we go any further on any of the hearings that we have today, I'd like to correct an apparent misimpression. If there's anybody in this room who thinks that character assassination, personalizing issues, disrespecting one another, scores any points with anybody on this board, I think you have another thing coming. We have issues before us, and they're profound. They involve a lot of things that are pretty fundamental to the character of these communities. They include who's just come here and who's been here a long time, what the values and what the underlying principles or core values that a community has. And we challenge one another in projects like this to define ourselves and to figure out exactly who we are and where we're going. But none of this will be aided by the level of discourse just preceding. And my hope is that we can get back on the issue, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Well said. Mr. Ciscornia.
Okay, my name is John Ciscornia. I live in St. Andreas. We have the property on the south side of this development. As far as me threatening this individual, I don't even know who this guy is. I've never seen him. I don't even know if I've ever talked to him. I've had a couple of phone calls from people that say they represent this property. I've never talked to anybody person to person, so I don't even know who this guy is. My objection to this thing is you're splitting up a piece of property, and somebody mentioned it, ag reserve and all. I mean, it isn't all that ag reserve, but it's all big parcels that go from Hogan to Maloney. There's a strip of property in there. If you get out a map, it's probably one of the biggest non-developed pieces of property in this county. It might be the biggest contiguous undeveloped piece of property. And I hate this, if you get a chink in the armor, it starts going. He can talk about his intent. Well, I intended to be retired when I was 70 years old. Well, I'm 70 years old and I'm still busting my ass out there trying to make a living. And everything, like Leroy said, everything you do doesn't pay off. Well, I've got family members that have bought property better than that piece that he's got, and they're losing their shirt on it. So, you think I feel sorry for this guy? I mean, he's not the only guy in the state that's losing his shirt from making a poor choice. So, I wasn't even going to say anything, but when he calls me or says that I'm threatening him, I don't even know who this gay is.
Thank you, Mr. Tiscornia. Okay, anyone else wishing to make a comment on this project? Joe?
I'm Steve Fairchild here in the Recreation Corporation, Moline, Calvert, etc. Just as a broader view, these discussions are going on worldwide throughout Europe and so forth. You've got the conflict between sewage and water. And because it's throughout the United States, I think everywhere, lots of technology, lots of development has gone on to address these things. One of which is waterless toilets and recycling. I noticed the man said he could recycle gray water, I presume, into irrigation water, and for limiting sewage, the use of land 40 acres or less without septic tanks and so it is. I think we need to keep the door open for new technology because there are very aesthetically pleasing, high-tech, inexpensive ways of dealing with human waste and other things. So I suggest that we leave that door open and not just say 40 acres and then you can't go there without public water and public sewage. Because public water and public sewage isn't the most efficient way to go in many, many cases. In Colorado, there are entire communities built on the sides of hills who have no water, no sewer, and they work just fine because they have all this technology and it's getting better and better every day. So please keep that in mind.
Thank you, Mr. Fairchild. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you. Joe Kelly. 4 issues here that I see, and I've heard different people talk about it, and you all know about it. One of them is your Board of Supervisors policy, which created such a moratorium. Perhaps you should go back and readdress that. The general plan map shows future zoning. It shows it all over in this county on unclassified and possibly agricultural and A1 property, because I've seen it. I own some of it. PRC 4291, the fire. New construction after 1991 requires, these folks would be required to at least go in and put an 18-foot wide, 2 9-foot lanes, and all the other things involved in 4291 to include trimming any canopies, trimming trees up, setting back, and around their house doing a 100-foot setback. Now, the state has asked me, have you asked your Board of Supervisors what the word shall means and when shall becomes a government restriction of land? Because state, all the way up to the Assistant Chief Fire Marshal, will not answer it. Assemblyman Berryhill will not answer it. Senator Cogbill will not answer it. Will you folks? I'd like to hear an answer. And I think here locally, when we, the people that come in, and go to our county planning department and look for information, and we're given certain things, and believe me, I've read just about everything in this county, and I have missed a few because of the way certain zoning has gone on in the past in this county. Now, we have another issue here. One gentleman brought up about his ability, he was worried about his access, his deeded access. Well, we had a legal access issue here a while back, and now it's gone by the wayside. Never finished. Yet under the color of authority, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors, it seems that he wanted to address to 2 members of our board an issue of agriculture. I don't know why he couldn't come before the whole board, or the committee, I should say. Road mitigation fees. What are the purpose of the road mitigation fees then for Pool Station Road? When I did a project or was concerned about a project, I contacted the two former directors, Mr. McSorley, and was told that Pool Station Road was somewhat, and I'm going to use the term priority for the county, to be made to a better level, a service level that would meet the construction needs. Then you have Assessor's Handbook 521. Now this is a document passed by the Board of Equalization California, and it states, Ag is an interim zone for the highest and best use. Now the highest and best use, that's what people are taxed on unless they have the Williamson Act on their property. The highest and best use is residential, commercial, and recreation. Take that, folks, and give it a lot of thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Jim Waters. My family was involved in the proposed subdivision that's out on Pool Station Road. When my family divided the property, I'm property owner across on the other side of Pool Station, be on the east side. I also have property farther down where my dad's house was. In about 1970, when Leroy and Sandy Rader decided to build a house up on top of the mountain up there, they came to my dad and got a deeded easement to go through our property. At the time, the property was in the Waters family name. So Leroy has been working on this road forever. My dad gave him an easement to go through there. I drove up that road many times before the new construction started on the newer road now that's in progress. I found nothing that was wrong with that road. There were culverts. There were cement abutments to handle the water. The road was in excellent shape. I mean, Leroy kept it good. And as far as the access to the parcels in question, number one is the new owners that were now, that is one family. Number two, the Tosconi family is number two, and the Rader family, Oneto family is number three. So there actually is three families involved there. My parcel is across the street. I own farther down to the north. And so as far as the, I guess you could say that the ball of wax started when the property was split up in my family. But as far as the roads, the way the road was, the road was in 1970, and from there on he's been working on this road. So now it's basically like a freeway going up through there. So anyway, I just wanted to voice my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Anyone else wishing to address the board on this item? Jessica? If you make it real quick.
Not if it's a personal attack.
I just want to say something quick. I'd like to speak to Mr. Waters. When his family listed the property on MLS, it was listed as a possible subdivision. So his family listed it that way. It wasn't like we just pulled it out of a hat. Thank you.
That is not right.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board? Okay, we have one last chance. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. That kind of sounds like it does. There we go.
Hammer and Rita sign?
Yeah. I would like to ask the board members if they have any comments or questions.
Yes, I do. I'd like some clarification, please. The property zone 10 acres.
That's correct.
And with the general plan land use designation of future single family of 5 acres.
That's correct.
Is the key issue, the road being upgraded?
There are two issues. The issue before the board right now is whether or not you intend to enforce your recommended policy to keep the parcels to 40 acres or greater without water and sewer until after the general plan update is in place.
If that was not the issue, is the issue the road?
The road would then also be an issue, yes.
Okay. I want to take a moment and I know this is Supervisor Tuffanelli's area, but I think I need to speak on this before he does. John Buckley was correct that the policy that the board put in November 07 needs to be consistent and fairly applied, and that this application should be denied. The board, realizing we had probably 4 to 6 cases that might have come in prior to the November 07 decision by the board, would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. What we're talking about in this case is timing. I'm not saying that the county doesn't have some culpability or the applicant doesn't have culpability, but I will say that the county knew of this project before November 07. I met with the applicant in the spring or summer of 07. I don't think they liked what I said. They met with Supervisor Claudino. I believe Supervisor Claudino said the same thing, and that had to do with the road, and that the road needed to be upgraded as a condition of any split they wanted to do. Now, if the applicant owned the property or didn't at that time, I do not remember. But this is a case on a case-by-case basis. I think in being fair that the county needs to accept the application. That being said, all other conditions would remain the same. On the conditions that we have on the road. So to say that we don't want this project is not the issue before us. I mean, we might not want the project, but that's not the point. The point is that was it known prior to November of 07? And I have to say, yes, we did know. We knew of the intent of it. They spoke to, at least 2 of us. And I know 2 of us, Supervisor Claudino and myself, both addressed the road issue. So all I can say is on the issue of should we accept the application, I'm going to support a yes. On the issues that were given to us by the applicant, I guess I would put that back into staff's hands and Supervisor Tuffanelli's hands. I knew there was going to be 5 parcels. Supervisor Claudino knew there were going to be 5 parcels. Staff knew there were going to be 5 parcels. And the applicant knew that the level of service of the road was D and would have to be brought up to standard. That's it.
Okay, anyone else wishing to comment?
I have a few comments. Unfortunately, this is the first I've heard that 2 supervisors have met prior.
Separately.
Well, separately. Either way, in 07, in either spring or early summer of 07, sitting here right now is the first time I've heard of it. I did not know that. However, it is being said that it was brought to their attention that the road needed to be upgraded in order for them to do the subdivision split that they wanted to do. It was brought to their attention. It's been in the general plan since 1996. In order to subdivide to what they're wanting to do, you need to bring the level of service of the road must be a level C. They had no pre-application meeting prior to their submission of their application for their TPM. And they weren't given any direction by the county on what to do prior to their application for a grading permit, or before their application for their TPM. They applied in June, on June 27th, 08, for the TPM. That was well after November 07, when the resolution for 40-acre parcels came into effect. They applied for a grading permit in September of 07, and on that, clearly on their grading permit, it said single-family residence. It did not say that it was going to split into 5 parcels. It did not anywhere indicate that. And I have to recommend, or my opinion is that after hearing that Marita had met with the applicants in early 07, that the county accept their application. But still, I agree with Marita that the level of service of the road has to be taken into consideration, along with the resolution of November of 2007 and upgraded again in 2008 to remain in effect. And that's what I have to say.
Okay, well, I'll go next. I basically support where Gary is. I think the road improvements need to be made. And I also think the applicant needs to meet the intent of Resolution 07-242 adopted by the board on November 27th of 2007. So I guess that would be basically a denial of the applicant's request.
Can I make a comment to Supervisor Tryon?
Certainly.
If we accept their application, Tom, that we all knew about it prior to November of 07, then that criteria would not apply. If we're saying that we're not going to accept that application, then that criteria applies. That's the key issue before us.
I think there's substantive evidence in the staff report that no representations were made prior to November 27th of 07 to make a county commitment to the applicant to process the application. Somebody can always submit an application. You don't have to have a motion to accept an application. Somebody can submit an application. The question is, what criteria does it get reviewed against? Clearly, I think we're all in agreement. One of the criteria is it does need to meet of the requirements of the road ordinance for a parcel split, which means that everything has to be at a sea level. For myself, I also think the criteria it needs to be reviewed against is the Resolution 07-242. That's my own opinion.
As for me, I actually think that the record it seems quite mixed on the question of when this would, what date people should have known what. But we do have official documents that say there's a date of application, and we have official documents that say that there was a resolution put in place that helps guide us in terms of how we would accept and review applications in relation to that. This is clearly a proposal that came in well after we had established that resolution. The resolution came into play for a variety of reasons. It was is supported by this board because we had been under the previous general plan developing subdivisions all over the place, small ones, but they were having a huge impact on some of the underlying fundamentals of rural life, including the well-being of our ag community and the significant economic and, I should say, even more important is the contribution to the quality of rural life that we often talk about, but sometimes find policy exemptions to get around. I think this is more clear than a lot of what led up to it, but I'd like to add one other thing. I'm not interested in saying, okay, we'll accept an application that's dead on arrival. I don't think that does anybody any favors. In fact, we have 5-year processes that show quite the contrary before us not too long from now. So my view is that we should not accept this. I will vote against that because I don't think this, well, let me just put it in a more positive way. I think the staff has appropriately made its recommendations, and I support those recommendations.
Okay, any other comments on this? Okay, I would like to clarify one particular thing. Is Robert Packinger still in the audience? Mr. Packinger, could you come up and answer a question, please? This particular issue, I don't think is going to have a great bearing on the outcome of this vote here, but Mr. Kelly brought up the significance of Fire Code 4291 as it pertains to the improvement standards of a road going to a single-family residence. And I'm going to put this to you in a kind of a hypothetical way. Say, for instance, Mr. Rader has a 20-acre parcel, and he had this road that he would put in 1970, the access road. If he wanted to apply for an accessory dwelling, which he would be permitted to do that in our county code, could put an accessory dwelling on that 20-acre parcel, would he or would he not have been compelled to bring the road up to 4291 standards in order to build that accessory dwelling?
That's, you're asking there the definition of a driveway versus the roadway.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I don't remember exactly where that driveway is. My recollection is that the driveway serves one dwelling.
Well, in this case, it would be serving
It would be serving two dwellings, but on a
actually
single
three.
parcel. It would be serving still a single parcel.
Well,
It would have two dwellings on one parcel. I believe that the driveway standard would apply in that case. Let's see, do you remember that? No? But if it were serving more than one parcel, it would have to be a road.
Okay, well, in this particular instance, there would be the parcel or the dwelling that was being applied for, the single dwelling that was shown on the application for the driveway that Mr. Barksdale presented. Anyway, I'm just trying to point out to people that we have new standards in place now that we, if you're serving two houses or more on one of these, call it a driveway, that it would trigger significant improvements on the access to those parcels. So this suggestion that this is evidence of some sort of evidence of ulterior motives or subterfuge, in my mind, doesn't apply, and I just wanted to clarify that. So, anyway, thank you very much. Okay, I think that I heard implication of a motion. Implied motion.
I move we accept the application under the guidelines that Maria and I talked about earlier, with still having to conform to the level service C road and 40-acre minimum. Resolution.
State that, I have a hard time hearing.
Accepting the application with the guidelines of the level service road. C for pool station.
Excuse me.
And
I think I need to give a little bit of clarification to some of the discussion that's going on.
If you'd like, that would be wonderful.
There were a couple of things that were brought up. First of all, there was a mention by the chair that this was basically a 20-acre split with clustering. And I do need to clarify that this is not a density transfer and that this project could later be divided into an entire subdivision. There's no restriction on the remaining parcel not being divided. So that is a first clarification. Secondly, based on the direction that we received, that staff received from Mr. Selman in 2008, the question before the board for the exemption was not just that the applicant knew of the project, of the resolution, but that they had expended considerable time and expense at direction of staff, and this was what delayed their application after the date that the resolution was passed. And third, the staff should be aware that because of the conflict of the existing project with the level of service D, that should the project application be accepted as complete, the first step for staff would be to recommend that the project be brought forward to the Planning Commission and the board for denial based on the fact that it is not consistent with the general plan. So just as an informational prior to your decision, I thought this information should be put before you.
okay. Mr. Chairman, I withdraw that motion and move that we accept the application based on the information that I've received this morning, that the two supervisors were informed prior to the summer of 2007 of the intent of the application, of the applicant. So I move that we accept the application, but still have the restrictions of a level service C road, the full station road must be.
Just a clarification, Gary. You did not include resolution 07242.
No, I can't.
Can't, Tom. We either accept the application prior to that resolution or we don't.
But the level service C still stands.
Okay. Can I clarify? The question after all the testimony is pretty basic. Are you going to allow the project to proceed as it's been proposed past resolution, whatever it is, 07242? In other words, do you want it to be processed? That's really the only question.
That's all that's before us. No entitlements, no.
Right. If you in fact say, no, you don't want to because you believe it's contrary to that resolution, then the project's dead. If you say you wanted to process it and find it to be in compliance with that resolution, then it will be processed. What Shailen's telling you is the next step will be a recommendation to the Planning Commission for denial because of the level of service on the road. It's a two-step process.
Well, if I
That's legal.
I mean, if the board's going to say accept it, so that staff has to process it and put a lot of staff time into it to recommend denial because it's inconsistent with the general plan, you know, I mean, we already have a planning department that's totally overwhelmed. I don't see the point in giving that direction. Even if you're not going to apply the resolution, as I think we should, if you just want to apply the road standard, which goes back to 96, it clearly was in place prior to the purchase of the property, just to say process it for a recommendation of denial because it's inconsistent with the general plan, I don't know how we're doing staff a favor or the applicant a favor at that point.
Well, it would put it in his lap whether he wants to withdraw it or proceed with it. We can't tell him we can't tell him we can't accept your application with the restrictions that we're putting forward. It's up to him whether he wants to proceed on it or not.
And then I would look to county
council. We're coming straight out and saying under the motion that he will accept his application, but the road is still a problem, And if you want it to, if you want it to proceed, or if you want it to go through as it proceeds through, then you're gonna have to bring the level service of the road up to level C.
Come on.
Okay, we have a motion to that effect. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the application with the proviso that it does have to comply.
No,
with,
no proviso. We
Well,
just
the-
accept the
okay.
application. That's all we're going to do.
I
We
thought
either
I-
accept it or we don't accept it. That's all that's before us.
Okay.
That's not the motion before us.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
There's already a motion on the
I want
floor.
to
Point of order,
revise the motion.
please.
Can we just hold it a second? As I understand it, Supervisor Toffenelli said that he wants to accept the application, but firmly stating that there is no suggestion that we waive the level of C criteria for the road. That was previously embedded, and it still is embedded in the general plan. So, is that not the question, or the motion that you seconded?
Let me clarify. As I see it, the only issue before us is whether to accept or not accept the application. If we accept it, then everything else goes in the standard procedure, which means the roads and...
For purposes of moving you along,
Yes.
we understand Gary's motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'll
Which is a
second,
practical
I'll
matter, it
second,
says
that's it,
process.
because it
Thank you.
means just a
Thank you.
process. Thank you.
Okay, does the second still stand, Maria?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May I hear all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, we have 3 ayes and 2 noes, so the motion passes. Okay, that,
Does not pass, right? Did you vote with us?
Yes.
Oh, good, for us. I didn't hear that.
this is the first time I voted with Marita in a year, so she's shocked.
Having a heart attack.
Okay, Supervisor Toffenelli, did you have a comment? Did you have a comment? Okay. All right. Gosh, that was really quick, wasn't it?
Can we, Supervisor or Chair, can
Yes.
we take a 5-minute break?
Yes, I am going to recommend that we take a 5-minute break. However, I have a couple of announcements that I want to make here. Please keep it quiet just for a moment, please. All right, the next item that we have is item number 5. Item number 6. This is, of course, on the Trinitas thing. I've got about 27, list of 27 names that want to talk on this thing. I would like to see a show of hands. Now, I'm not going to ask for attorneys or experts, hydrologists or whatever. But could I see a show of hands of people that want to talk so I can kind of get a sense for how many people? Okay, help me count.
That doesn't matter.
We were told what? Okay, yeah, that's a separate issue. Okay, I'm seeing at least 40 people. I'd like to have your hands go down. How many people would like to see this hearing concluded today? How many people would like to not care whether it is concluded today? Okay, democratically, I think we're going to conclude today. Okay, having said that, I had put out at least 100 emails responding to emails that I got prior to this hearing that I was going to make this determination based on the amount of people and the time constraints that we have. So I said be prepared for 2 minutes for people that are coming up to make their comments. I've said 3. I said 3. However, we cannot take, we have 40 people each speaking 3 minutes. That's 2 hours of testimony. We cannot endure that today. I'm going to hold a 2-minute limitation. Okay, a 2-minute limitation on the, and please be clear on this. This is new information. If somebody comes up and says something about water, if somebody comes up and immediately says the same thing about water or the absence of water, the chair has the discretion of saying, we've heard that, we want new information, we don't want old information with a new person. Does everybody understand that? Okay, we will take a 5-minute break and reconvene.